Welcome YouTube to another D&D Fridays. This is your host, yours truly, the Geek Life, keeping everybody's life geeky. Today we'll be taking a look at the Sorcerer and just what the Sorcerer has to offer. But before we get to that, don't forget, hit that notification button, hit that subscribe button, and comment on down below what you think of the Sorcerer. Without further ado, let's get to it.
Let's do it.
So when it comes to the Sorcerer, there's a lot of cool things you can do with the sorcerer. So the sorcerer really is a full caster that gets a lot of their power from some sort of lineage or something to that degree, whereas wizards get their powers from a spell book, druids from nature, so on and so forth. Sorcerers get their powers from something inside of them. When I think of sorcerers, I think of things such as like Saiyans from Dragon Ball franchise or like the X-Men mutants or something to that degree. So there's a lot of different types of things you can really do with a sorcerer. And when it comes to a sorcerer, they do have a d6 hit die, which isn't that great, but you're a full caster, you should be in the back lines, not up in the front lines, unless you have a death wish.
Well, some of them might. You never know.
Maybe you want to play a Pact of the Undying Warlock.
There you go. Exactly.
Or you want your necromancer wizard friend to reincarnate you. But anyway, so they get proficiency in charisma saving throws, and they're one of two full casters, or two casters, I should say, that get all important Constitution saving throws, which is going to be amazing for all of your concentration spells. Just to get that extra up to +6 on them is going to be very useful. As assuming that you're playing under a good DM, you will be hit every once in a while. Now, as said before, they are a full caster, again up to 9th level spell slots. But the thing that really sets them apart from some of the other full casters like druids and wizards, sorcerers are a spell's known class. So you get up to up to a maximum of 15 spells that you can know at any one time later on in level. And you can't prepare them or anything like that. You can only change one spell out at a time every level up. So just be wary of that. But to compensate for that, sorcerers do get a cool nifty little thing called the Font of Magic and Meta Magic options. So with the font of Magic, you get sorcery points equal to your level, and you can convert spell slots into sorcery points or sorcery points into spell levels. Now, what these sorcery points really do, they help fuel the meta magic options that you choose as a sorcerer. So there's a good handful of meta magic options between the PHP and Tasha's that can do different things depending on what you want to do. And some of the cooler and more useful meta magic options include probably the most insanely powerful and popular one, the Twin Spell, where you can use a certain number of sorcery points to basically twin your spell, as long as it's not able to target more than one creature from the get-go and it's not targeting itself. So that is the best way to actually get the most bang for your buck with concentration spells, to be able to twin haste your barbarian and your fighter at the same time, or to twin banishment on two enemies, or to twin fly, or to twin whole person, or something like that. So that can be very handy.
I think one of the other cool meta magic options is the subtle spell. Right.
That's very useful, and especially in RP moments.
Exactly. I think it really shines in those types of moments where you can, you basically can cast your spell for one sorcery point without any of the somatic or verbal components, right? So
if you happen to be tied up,
exactly,
there you go.
If you want
to talk to somebody and get them to do what you want, subtle spell your suggestion or your dominate person or something like that.
Yep, I think that's a very cool tweak on the one a very cool tweak for being a sorcerer. So
Now, keep in mind if you want to subtle spell your spells, just be careful on what spell you're subtle spelling. Is if you're going to subtle spell a fireball, everybody can still see that fireball is still going to originate from you. So be very
yeah,
careful.
yeah, you can't really do Hadouken without winding up first. So
Yeah, but those are the main things, and so just to set it apart from the wizard, so you're giving up a lot of versatility in your spells for being very, very good in what you choose your sorcerer to do. So when we get to the subclasses, the first one from the PHP is the Wild Magic Sorcerer. This is kind of sort of that wild sense of a sorcerer. They have some chaotic elements to their powers. Um, and I usually see when I think of the wild magic sorcerer, I usually think of maybe like a maybe like a Jean Grey or something like that, who at some points maybe their powers are going out of control for some varying reason. So with the wild magic sorcerer, basically whenever you cast a spell, sorcerer spell of first level or higher, your GM can ask you to roll on a wild magic table, and if you happen to roll a one, you roll on that table, and depend on what you get on that D100, a little effect happens. Everything from turning into a potted plant to the probably the least loved one of casting fireball centered on yourself.
yeah,
Which, if you happen to get that early enough, it's going to be a TPK.
yep, that's kind of crazy. Yes.
Now, I have to say, this does take into account GM uh, play as the GM, as you need the GM to ask you to do that. So, depending on your GM, that you might get more mileage on that, and then you get as you level up, you get more ways of rolling on more times of rolling on that table and things of that nature. And so it's kind of quirky. It's I wouldn't say it's for every group, but it's a little bit wacky.
Yeah, I think there could be some interesting shenanigans occur because of the wild magic table. So
Yeah. And the next subclass is the Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer subclass. This this sorcerer can trace their lineage back to some sort of dragon or dragonborn or something of that nature, of the different colors from black to white. Now, um, of course, depending on what you pick up, you can potentially gain resistance to that specific type that you pick up for a sorcery point, which can be good in the right situation. Also, I think one of my favorite things is Dragon or Draconic Resilience. So it does twofold things on when you get it on first level. The first is you basically have an always on mage armor. So your AC is now 13 plus Dex modifier, making you a little bit more tanky. And you also get an extra 1 HP per level up in this class, which is pretty good. So you basically you basically have a D8 hit die pretty much, assuming that you're taking the fixed HP level up. But
yeah, that extra 1 point definitely raises that average, which is always nice for a sorcerer. So
mhm.
one of the other abilities I think that's pretty cool is you don't get it until you're all the way to level 18, but it's the Draconic Presence, right? So you basically have the ability to exude an aura of fear, right? So you basically channel your inner dragon, which I think is pretty cool. But you do have to wait quite a bit to get there. But I think that's kind of a nice little capstone for this this class.
You know, and And it's very thematic if you happen to pick a Dragonborn to be a Draconic sorcerer. Although if you do that, it would be cool to pick the same lineage, a red Dragonborn for a red Draconic sorcerer, but it's probably best if you pick a different color so you can get those two different resistances, one from being a Dragonborn, one from this subclass. So definitely keep that in mind.
If you're definitely into the min-maxing mindset, for sure.
Yeah, and plus, what's you can't have anything more cooler than being a silver Dragonborn of the red Draconic sorcerer to have resistance to fire and ice. But coming up on Xanathar's Guide to Everything, the next sorcerer subclass that we see is the Divine Soul Sorcerer, which I think is probably one of the better sorcerer subclasses. So this sorcerer really can trace their lineage back to some sort of god or angel or planetaire, solar, something from the celestial realm. Now, one of the best things that I've seen in a lot of different caster classes is starting on level 1, you can choose your spells from either the sorcerer list or the cleric list. So that opens up the versatility range as there's some cool cleric spells that you can pick up now. You need to shield face somebody or bless your party or something like that. You can do that now. You don't have a party healer, you can pick up one or two healing spells now. So this is very cool to pick up. And I think one of the other things that I like is on 14th level, Otherworldly Wings. So basically, as a bonus action, you sprout wings, and now you have a 30-foot flying speed.
Yeah, that was the one I was going to mention. Is you basically gain your angel wings at level 14, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, and I mean it's free flight. Who doesn't want free flight?
Yeah, that's fair point. Fair point.
So next up, we're taking a bit of a deviation from the light, and we're going to pay Hades and other folks of that nature a visit, and we're going to take a look at the Shadow Sorcerer. So just like how the Divine Soul Sorcerer is all about seeing the light, the Shadow Sorcerer is all about them shadows. So a lot of cool stuff that I think really comes out of the Shadow Sorcerer. So first off, starting on level 1, you get Eyes of the Dark. So first off, you have dark vision with a range of 120 feet, which is amazing if you happen to be like a human or dragonborn or something that doesn't inherently get dark vision. And in addition to that, starting on 3rd level as a part of the same feature, you learn the darkness spell that you can cast with your regular spell slots. But if you happen to spend 2 sorcery points to cast this darkness spell, you can also see through this darkness. So you basically get devil sight for whenever you cast your darkness spell with through this own specific way, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yep. I really like what the ability you get at level 6. You basically get a nice little companion that you can call to you, a Hound of Ill Omen. And you basically can spend 3 sorcery points and summon this Hound to target one creature that you see within 120 feet of you. So not only can you just stay at the back of the party, you can say, "Fetch, doggy," and it'll attack your enemy there for you. So I think that's a pretty neat little ability that you can get at 6th level for this sorcerer.
Yep, and it'll be. And I've seen a few builds before where folks have gone like a shadow sorcerer and like a celestial warlock or something like that to get that light and darkness. So that's a very cool combination that you can potentially do as well.
Absolutely.
Next up is probably one of my favorite themes of of a sorcerer. It's the storm sorcerer. This sorcerer really brings down the thunder and the lightning. And no lie, every time I think of this class, the first thing I think of is Storm from the
Storm.
X-Men.
Yeah, yeah, can't disagree.
Yeah, and this sorcerer is all about the storm, the thunder, the lightning, kind of like Thor. So it makes sense if you would follow Thor. And one of my favorite things is on 18th level called Wind Soul. So it does a few things. First off, you get magical flying of 60 feet, just outgate, and up to 3 plus your charisma modifier of creatures within 30 feet of you. Um, you can you can split up your flying speed pretty much, so you can cut your flying speed in half. So you have 30 feet, and now all those creatures that you choose, they have a flying speed of 30 feet. And as a cherry on top, you are now immune to lightning and thunder damage. It's one of the few times that you can actually be immune to a damage type outside of a spell, which
That's
is
pretty.
very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty good for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a good capstone for this class. I mean, lightning and thunder might not be as common as like fire or something like that, but being immune to two damage types, that's really good.
Can't pass that up. Exactly.
And I think one of my other favorite things is on first level tempestuous magic. So basically, whenever you cast a spell of first level or higher that deals lightning or thunder damage, either right before or right after you cast that spell, you can move 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks.
Nice.
So
That's very.
that's really good. If somebody's bearing down on you, just cast Chromatic Orb or call or lightning storm or storm sphere or whatever. Before you cast it, get on out of there. Cast that spell. Use the rest of your movement to go about your business.
Yep, definitely. And to bring the storm analogy home, at 6th level, you gain Storm Guide, which allows you the ability to control the weather, right? So that, of course, I wouldn't, I would actually be very surprised if they didn't have the Storm character in mind when they built this subclass.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And also, I've also seen a lot of times where if you want a little bit of extra defenses or something like that, I've seen a lot of folks multi-class a Storm Sorcerer with a Tempest Domain Cleric to gain those extra armor proficiencies and a couple of extra things like get 2 levels of it for the Channel of Divinity, and now you can max all of your lightning damage.
It's good synergy right there.
Yep. Next up, we have the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer from Tasha's Cauldron to Everything. So this Aberrant Mind is pretty much your mind telepathic type of sorcerer. Um, I kind of think of like I hate to make another X-Men reference, but I kind of think of like Jean Grey or Professor Xavier as aberrant mind sorcerers, as they can kind of communicate to you telepathically, move things with their mind, that sort of thing. And with the aberrant mind, they really get a lot of stuff that really hammers home that mind alteration type of stuff, that telepathy, that psychic damage type of thing. And I also think of a lot of like mind flayers, the elder brain, that type of D&D creatures as well. When I think of the aberrant mind, like maybe a rogue mind flayer found you as a kid and imparted some of their power on you, and that's how you became a aberrant mind sorcerer. That might be a cool backstory to take into account. So aberrant minds got a few cool stuff. So for instance, one of the things they can do on first level with their telepathic speech ability is as a bonus action, you can choose a creature within 30 feet. You and the chosen creature can communicate to each other telepathically. So if you happen to be like talking to, I don't know, some guards or something like that, and you want to communicate some plan of like sneaking by or whatever, now you have a way of doing that without alerting those guards or whoever you're talking to your plan. Just as long as you can somehow devote your mind to doing two different things at once, then
Yep.
that is pretty cool to do.
Totally agree. Yeah, I like the going from that. I like the ability that you get at 6th level, psychic defenses, gain resistance to psychic damage, but then you also gain advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Those are good. Those are two good um, saving throws to have advantage on, especially as you get later on in the game. So I like that ability.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of cool stuff, and they also get some really cool spells too. Like they get the Mind Sliver cantrip for free, which is I think one of the better attacking cantrips. Um, they get like telekinesis, send in, dissonant whispers, detect thoughts. So there's some, I think, some useful spells there as well. And I also feel if I'm ever playing this sorcerer, I kind of feel the need to pick up like Tasha's Mind Web and stuff of that nature as well, just to deal with that mind psychic damage. Next up, we have the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. This sorcerer is all about um, pretty much time and really going back in time, fixing stuff, canceling out or neutralizing different things that happen in time. So one of the things they get on first level is restore balance. So basically, whenever a creature within 60 feet of you is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you can use your reaction to basically give them the other one. So basically, you're negating that advantage or disadvantage. You see your ally has disadvantage on all three of their attacks. Nah, don't go about it. Just roll a straight d20 of that.
Yep.
You see an enemy about to have advantage on your wizard friend's crucial save spell. Nah, just roll one of those d20s. Don't worry about it. Making that spell much easier to go off. So I think that's a really good use of your reaction, especially being a sorcerer. You don't really use your reactions much, anyways. So that's a good use of it.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. And I think the level 18 ability Clockwork Cavalcade is pretty amazing here, right? You get the ability to summon spirits that look like Modrons in a 30-foot cube originating from you, so they basically surround you, and it can restore up to 100 hit points, divided as you want among any number of creatures. Any damage any damage objects entirely in the cube are instantly repaired. So if you've got some other automaton or something, gets fixed. And then every spell of 6th level or lower ends on creatures and objects in the choice of your choice in the cube. So 100-point heal spell that also counterspells something? Like what? Hello?
It's like your barbarian is somehow got under the effects of dominate person. Nah, I'm gonna say no to that too.
Exactly, exactly. So I think that's a really powerful capstone here. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So overall, I think the sorcerer has a lot of cool different types of things that you can do depending on what you want to do. If I had to make a future sorcerer class or subclass in a future source book, the next one, I'll probably say it might be cool to give the sorcerer something that would help boost up maybe their melee stuff, kind of like how the Hexblade is to the Warlock, the Blade Singer is to the Wizard, the Moon Druid is to the Druid, and the Valor and Swords Bards are to the Bard. I think the Sorcerer probably needs a little bit of that love, but other than that, I think the Sorcerer is a powerful class if you want to make it in any way, shape, or form.
I agree. I think it's a great class to play. I think there's a lot of potential there to take it in many different directions.
You know, and without further ado, gonna hopefully everybody will definitely give Sorcerer a try at some point. And with that, we'll close on out. Hopefully, we'll see you next time when we talk about warlocks, and hopefully, maybe we might make a pact with something over the course of that video. And until then, you two, keep your lives geeky.
Bye, everyone.